This is Pulse of Africa, the face and voice of Africa. The story of resurgent and burgeoning Africa is here, only on the Pulse of Africa channel. Pulse of Africa, the face and voice of Africa.
Hello, I'm Tinsei Gabia with the news. The World Bank has approved a $925 million loan to support South Africa's efforts to revive its major cities, with the funding forming part of a broader 6-year Metro Services trading program valued at 3 times that amount. The initiative targets 8 key cities, Johannesburg, Cape Town, Durban, Pretoria, and others, to over a third of the population and generate 85% of the nation's economic output. The program links funding to operational and financial performance, aiming to improve water and electric supply, waste collection, and climate resilience while promoting private sector partnerships. Satu Kokonen, World Bank Division Director for South Africa, said the program incentivizes real performance improvements, accountability, and institutional reform. The initiative also responds to growing citizen pressure over service delivery failures, which contributed to the ruling African National Congress losing its outright majority in the last year's election. The loan underscores South Africa's deepening engagement with the World Bank following 3 sovereign loans totaling around $3 billion since 2022 and marks the country's first program for results operations with the lender. The government of Côte d'Ivoire has set the target to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 33.07% by 2035 under its updated nationally determined contributions. Officials said the plan focuses on strengthening national resilience and promoting low-carbon inclusive development. Key government-led actions target agriculture, forestry, fisheries, water resources, and health, while cross-cutting initiatives include green jobs, gender equality, circular and blue economy, and resilient infrastructure. The government has outlined a detailed investment plan estimated at $59 billion to mobilize domestic and international financing. Authorities emphasize strong policy frameworks, transparency, and public engagement to ensure the effective implementation of the plan and achieve its emissions reduction goals. The Somalia Humanitarian Forum opens today in Johor amid growing concerns over declining foreign aid assistance. This year, Somalia appealed for $1.42 billion to address its humanitarian needs, but also so far received only $272.8 million, representing just 19% of the total requested. The shortfall is largely linked to the United States' decision to cut back on global aid contributions, which has severely affected life-saving programs assisting those impacted by drought, floods, and conflict. The forum in Johor brings together both national and international representatives, including SODMA Director General Mohammed Mualim Abdul, Hir Shabil, President Ali Goodlawe, Federal Ministry of Agriculture officials, as well as delegates from the World Bank, United Kingdom, United States, European Union, Turkey, and civil societies organizations. Discussions will focus on strengthening Somali-led coordination of humanitarian assistance and enhancing local community participation and relief efforts. Despite the funding decline, Somalia has this year contributed $9 million of its own resources to humanitarian response, making it the 9th largest donor to Somalia's aid operations, surpassing countries such as the United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, and Norway. This Johor meeting marks the 9th forum organized by SODMA and will review strategies for linking humanitarian coordination with early warning systems and resilience planning at both federal and state levels.
This is Africa, the cradle of humanity, the frontier of the future, a land of visionaries, creators and pioneers, a continent of unstoppable energy where innovation meets tradition, where voices rise, loud and fearless.
I am an African.
This is the heartbeat of 1 billion people, diverse, bold, united by a single purpose to tell our own stories in our own way. No borders, No barriers, no filters. A new era of African storytelling is here. From every corner of the continent, from the bustling cities to the quiet villages, we tell Africa's story by Africans for the world. This is the land of a rising Africa, where Africa speaks and the world listens. This is why today we bring you POA, Pulse of Africa, the face and voice of Africa.
Algeria and Oman have strengthened their partnership in agriculture, fisheries, and food security following high-level talks held during the International Fisheries and Aquaculture Exhibition, which took place in Oran from November 6 to 9. Omani Minister of Agriculture, Fisheries and Water Resources, Saud bin Ahmoud al-Habisi, and Algerian Minister of Agriculture, Rural Development and Fisheries, Yassin El Mahdi Oulaid, discussed collaboration in desert agriculture, digital transformation, and value-added industries. Both sides emphasized the importance of research, innovation, and investment to achieve sustainable food security. The ministers also agreed to enhance training, technical cooperation, and exchange of expertise to promote mutual growth and sustainable development. Held under the theme Innovation and Knowledge, the exhibition brought together representatives from more than 25 countries and 35 emerging institutions, serving as a platform for knowledge sharing and showcasing new technologies in marine, fishing, and aquaculture. Zimbabwe is making steady progress toward universal energy access, with more than 35,000 households connected to the national grid since the start of the year and 94% of clinics now electrified. Energy and Power Development Minister July Moyo said 69% of primary schools and 82% of secondary schools have electricity, with full electrification targeted by 2026. PowerTel is also expanding internet services to all connected schools to enhance digital learning. The initiative, part of President Mnangagwa's Vision 2030, aims to ensure affordable, modern, and sustainable energy for all. Zimbabwe has increased power generation capacity by 8.25%, built 750 kilometers of new distribution lines, and launched more than 340 electrification projects this year. The government's efforts underline its commitment to energy self-sufficiency, industrialization, and equal learning opportunities across urban and rural areas. Africa's music, film, fashion, and art are shaping global culture, yet the continent's creative industries remain underfunded and poorly structured. Farid Fezwa of the IFC World Bank Group highlights that while African talent is world-class, the real challenge lies in capital, policy, and infrastructure. Despite achievements in like Nollywood producing 2,500 films annually and African artists headlining major global venues, these sectors struggle to scale due to fragmented ecosystems and limited financial support. Investing in creative industries could unlock massive economic and social benefits, generating jobs, supporting youth and women, and boosting related sectors such as tourism and technology. IFC emphasizes that long-term growth requires deliberate ecosystem building, combining capital with policy engagement, technical support, and market infrastructure. Africa's culture is not just an export, it is a strategic investment for the continent's future. Now to business news. A high-level IMF delegation led by Axel Shimel-Pifeng met with Nigeria's Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, Senator Abubakar Bagudu, in Abuja to discuss the country's ongoing economic reforms and preparations for the 2026-2030 National Development Plan. The talks reviewed Nigeria's fiscal priorities, macroeconomic framework, and reform trajectory. Shimel-Pifeng commended Nigeria's policy consistency and commitment to reform, noting its growing institutional strength. Bagudu reaffirmed the government's goal for achieving $1 trillion economy by 2030 through disciplined, transparent, and inclusive reforms. He also highlighted the renewed Hope Ward-based development plan aimed at driving grassroots economy growth across the country's 8,809 wards. The International Trade Center and the African Export-Import Bank have unveiled a free continent-wide training program to help African businesses harness the opportunities of the African Continental Free Trade Area. The online course, running until December 31st, 2025, equips entrepreneurs, SMEs, and exporters with hands-on skills to expand into new markets, understand AFCFTA's trade rules, manage logistics, and meet continental standards. With Africa's single market of 1.3 billion people and a GDP exceeding $3.4 trillion, the initiative aims to boost competitiveness, stimulate value chains, and reduce reliance on imports. By addressing barriers such as limited market data and high logistic costs, ITC and Afreximbank hope to enable African firms to trade more efficiently, create jobs, and strengthen regional integration through AFCFTA. Next, let's take a look at the latest weather forecast. Before we wrap up, we invite you to watch POA In Depth, which follows this news package. Thank you for tuning in. Stay with us for more news and updates. Goodbye.
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of POA in Depth. Today we spotlight the dynamic and evolving cooperation between Africa and China, a partnership that continues to shape the continent's industrial future. Stay with us. Over recent years, Africa has been undergoing a profound transformation. Guided by the aspirations of the African Union's Agenda 2063, the African Continental Free Trade Area, and national development plans across the continent, African nations are demonstrating a bold commitment to industrialization. This vision aims to harness Africa's vast resources to create jobs, diversify economies, and build a resilient, inclusive growth. Industrialization in Africa must be green, forward-looking, and socially inclusive. Through platforms like China-Africa Cooperation FOCAC and various bilateral and multilateral initiatives, China has supported Africa in building infrastructure, expanding manufacturing, improving energy access, advancing vocational training, and accelerating technological progress. A recent seminar held in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, the diplomatic heart of Africa, served as a powerful platform to deepen this strategic collaboration. The event themed China supports Africa's industrialization, promoting green, coordinated, and sustainable development, brought together distinguished representatives from the African Union, the United Nations, universities, research institutions, and development partners from both China and Africa. In his opening remark, Ambassador Zheng Feng, head of mission of China to the African Union and representative to the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, expressed admiration for Africa's industrial strides and reaffirmed China's unwavering support for the continent's development ambition.
Accelerating industrialization is a key path for Africa to transform its endowments into endogenous driving force for development and achieve economic diversification and inclusive and sustainable development. China has always been a staunch supporter for Africa's industrialization. Over the past decade, China-Africa Belt and Road Cooperation has become a significant platform for promoting Africa's industrialization. Firstly, the policy coordination has imported top-level resources into Africa's industrialization. China has signed MOU on the Belt and Road Cooperation with the AU and 52 African countries, and also has signed bilateral agreements on the investment promotion and protection with 34 African countries. 17 African countries have joined the Belt and Road Initiative Tax Administration Cooperation Mechanism. Secondly, the infrastructure connectivity has paved the way for Africa's industrialization. Chinese engineering contractors have participated in constructing numerous infrastructure projects, such as the Mombasa-Nairobi Railway in Kenya, the Lekki Deep Sea Port in Nigeria, the Lower Kafue Gorge Hydropower Station in Zambia, and the Electronic Government Network project in Uganda. These projects have effectively overcome the bottleneck of infrastructure shortcomings and created conditions for industrial clustering. Thirdly, the unimpeded trade has injected market vitality to Africa's industrialization. China has granted duty-free treatment to 100% of the tariff lines of products to 53 African countries with which it has diplomatic ties. Currently, China is negotiating the implementation documents with the relevant African countries to open up a broader market for African industrial development. China encouraged its enterprises to actively invest in Africa in areas of equipment manufacturing, light industry, chemicals, and digital technology, etc. Chinese enterprises have participated in constructing and operating more than 50 industrial parks of various types in Africa. Fourthly, the financial integration has provided crucial support for Africa's industrialization. China has become Africa's largest development financing provider.
Lirato Mataba, African Union Commission Commissioner for Infrastructure and Energy, emphasized the importance of dialogue in advancing Africa's industrial agenda. She acknowledged China's vital role in supporting the African Union through infrastructure development, capacity building, and knowledge exchange.
Africa is rising. Our continent stands ready to harness its abundant resources, youthful energy, and deep ingenuity to shape a new era of growth. This transformation will be green, it will be coordinated, and it will be sustainable. It will be rooted in our own realities as Africa, guided by the vision of Agenda 2063, the Africa we want. The second 10-year implementation plan of Agenda 2063 calls us to action. It calls us to build resilient economies that serve our people and that safeguard our planet. Excellencies, industrialization is not merely about factories and machines. It is about dignity, it is about self-reliance, it is about prosperity. That is our collective focus. Industrialization, however, without capacity building is like planting without preparing the soil. Skills, institutions, and human capital are foundations upon which we build. We must invest in our youth, our women, and our girls. This is a necessity. When they rise, Africa rises. We acknowledge and appreciate the People's Republic of China's steadfast partnership through training, scholarships, infrastructure, and knowledge exchanges. These contributions have strengthened our institutions and have indeed empowered our people, and we thank you. We now call for deeper collaboration aligned with Africa's green, digital, and industrial priorities. This seminar, therefore, comes at the right time. It focuses on 4 areas of our industrial transformation, particularly strengthening industrial strategies, advancing new energy and green technologies, building resilient and local manufacturing systems, and nurturing digital industries and innovation ecosystems. Excellencies, our path forward is clear. We must collaborate to scale locally led capacity building programs that are aligned with Agenda 2063. We must collaborate to establish regional centers of excellence for green technologies and advanced manufacturing. We must launch apprenticeship schemes linking youth and women to industrial firms. We must expand scholarships and technical exchanges focusing on vocational and digital skills. We must promote public-private partnerships with embedded training and technology transfer. We must support digital infrastructure and literacy, our bridge to the future. The African Union stands ready to work with the People's Republic of China to bring all these priorities to life. Together, we will ensure that every initiative aligns with Agenda 2063 and our FOCAC agenda, advancing an inclusive, transformed, sustainable Africa. We thank Your Excellency Ambassador Zhang Feng and our Chinese partners for their enduring friendship and commitment to Africa's transformation through industrialization.
Representing Ethiopia's Minister of Innovation and Technology, Dr. Semeno Kaskis conveyed a strong message. He said, industrialization is not just a goal, it is a necessity. He praised Chinese companies for their bold investment in Ethiopia and extended an invitation for more to follow.
We welcome more and more Chinese companies to come and explore more investment opportunities in Ethiopia. The commitment of the government towards this vision remains very strong. We are committed to further optimization of our policies, improvement of business environment, and ensuring predictable regulatory frameworks, efficiency, and simplification of processes. We will do everything possible to create an environment in which enterprises, be it local and foreign, can thrive in contribution to high-quality development as stated in our national strategy. We invite you to be partners in this next phase of transformation. Honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen, the fact that such a broad and high-ranking gathering of government officials, the AU, UN entities, and though leaders have been brought together, testifies to the high potential political commitment from both sides. Let us work diligently as we proceed with the discussion, translating this vision into specific projects that can be acted upon, bringing benefits to the ordinary workers and citizens of Ethiopia in particular and Africa at large.
Dr. Kwabana Irabi, Director of Banking Operation at the African Export-Import Bank, Afreximbank, highlighted China as a model for development and stressed the importance of leveraging Africa-China cooperation to unlock new opportunities.
Africa stands today at the threshold of a new era, one that requires a reimagining of our pathway to development and the imperative to take our peoples out of poverty. And there is no better example of a nation that has taken its economy and its people through such a transformative journey in recent history than China. A journey built on a foundation of long-term strategic planning, massive infrastructure development, human capital investment, and global integration. Over the past 2 decades, China has emerged not merely as a trading partner, but as a co-architect in Africa's long-term development vision. As we gather under the theme, supporting Africa's industrialization, promoting green, coordinated, and sustainable development, the key question we have to ask ourselves is, how can we leverage China-Africa cooperation beyond projects to a partnership in development planning? When the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation, FOCAC, was launched in the year 2000, it signaled a new era. That partnership has now matured from aid-based engagements to pragmatic long-term cooperation. Through China's strategic priorities like the Belt and Road Initiative, we have seen investments in transport corridors, ports, and energy infrastructure that have physically connected African economies to global value chains. And importantly, today's cooperation frameworks increasingly align with Africa's own development blueprint. Agenda 2063, National Industrialization Plans, and African Continental Free Trade Area. This evolution marks a shift from financing of assets to planning futures. China's investments in Africa have exceeded $50 billion in cumulative foreign direct investments and loans by 2024. We, as well as other African institutions, will certainly stand to benefit from China's large-scale transformative experiences to further accelerate these modest gains. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, imagine for a minute that we establish China-Africa Development Planning Institute, where African and Chinese planners design regional industrial strategies together, where data systems, forecasting tools, and monitoring frameworks are co-developed, where the ethos of China's 5-year planning approach is adapted to African realities. That kind of institutional partnership will further strengthen Africa's capacity and desire to plan, coordinate, and lead its industrial future. Excellencies, the relationship between China and Africa is not a one-way transfer of resources or expertise. It is a dialogue, a partnership of equals. Together, through coordinated and sustainable planning, China and Africa can design the blueprint for shared prosperity. A prosperity that will not only be measured in GDP, but in the dignity, resilience, and opportunity of our people for generations to come.
I interviewed Ambassador Zheng Feng, Head of Mission of China to the African Union and representative to the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, and Larato Mataba, African Union Commission Commissioner for Infrastructure and Energy, during the seminar. Their insight reaffirmed the shared commitment to sustainable industrial growth and the enduring strengths of this partnership.
As you know, China has always been a sincere partner in Africa's industrialization journey. As an important member of the Global South, China advocates that the developing country should draw independently their development blueprints. Since 2013, China has successfully proposed the Belt and Road Initiative, the Global Development Initiative, the Global Security Initiative, the Global Civilization Initiative, and the Global Governance Initiative, working hand in hand with Africa to safeguard jointly common right to development. Therefore, the theme of this seminar not only reflects Africa's practical needs, but also echoes the shared vision of China and Africa to advance modernization together. Looking forward, China stands ready to work with the African Union and African countries.
The collaboration between China and the African continent is quite important and strategic. Through the FOCAC mechanism, we've articulated priorities that we'll advance jointly with China. And the most important is the support to our Agenda 2063 objectives of an integrated and industrialized African continent. And our conversations and collaboration with China is how do we anchor that industrialization so that we can leapfrog our continent into the future. And that collaboration would also span, industrialization through infrastructure development, industrialization through digitalization, and the skills that we need to, inculcate on the African continent for that industrialization agenda. So we've been having quite important conversations around how China can support that effort, and that effort will also be anchored on the principles of localization, making sure that African content is pivotal to the projects, the skills that we're going to be collaborating on. So it's quite an important cooperation framework.
This seminar was more than a meeting. It was a celebration of shared vision, mutual respect, and a future built on collaboration. Thank you for joining us. Until next time.